Okay, hey, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. It's that time of year where people are putting out state of the collection videos, and honestly, I can't do that just because I have way too many watches. So I thought, why not kind of a state of a sub collection within my my watches. So this is the state of the Alpinist collection. You can see here, these are all of these Alpinist watches that I own. And this is just some of the Seikos, right? Like, I almost thought about doing like a state of the Seiko collection, but again, it's too many. So I'll start with this state of the Alpinist collection. I don't think I'll be buying any more Alpinists anytime soon, unless, you know, there's some new release, which who knows? In these cases, it happens, or seems to happen quite often. And then today, the backdrop is set against the Dassari watch roll that you can actually get from Strapsco. So big shout out to them. They're kind of, I guess you can consider them like a co-sponsor of this segment, because their watch roll was so nice that it kind of inspired me to lay all of these out and get them in front of you guys so that we could talk about them. And I like that basically there's a nice work area. These roll out, and of course they don't roll away because of the shape, which we can get into a little bit more. But I do have dedicated review videos for this particular roll. But hey, within the context of supporting a collection, this is a really cool way to either, store them while you're, at home or at the office, out traveling, whatever. Like, these are really cool. Actually, I think I have another one. Here's one we can look at real quick. A blue one with a gray interior. This is the black with the gray, but you can see essentially very cool. Actually, got nice little pillows, which do have some compression there with that M shape. They slide in. And honestly, like, for the price, this is like you're getting Saffiano leather, which has a great texture to it. These are actually really affordable for the price and considering the build quality. There's definitely cheaper ones, but they also are built cheaper. So that's where the trade-off is, right? Like, you can get some, for me, this is the sweet spot. You're getting what you pay for. You're getting a good deal on, on good quality versus getting a great deal on, like, okay quality. So this is kind of that apex or that crossover. But there's quite a few different watches here. I guess we could start with the JDM Alpinist. This is the kind of the daddy. This is the one that kind of started it all here, guys. This is the SARB 017, and it also has some things in common. Let's put this back down here. Has a lot in common with this guy here. These are kind of the last of the two, I guess, true Alpinists, because they both do have Alpinists on the case backs. I mean, the other ones are true Alpinists, but I guess less overt. Let me get it to where it can focus, because there's a lot in the background. There we go. Limited edition versus here is just a JDM model, but it does have that Alpinist, the old school Alpinist case back. So these two pieces, so this is the JDM Alpinist, SARB 017. This is the US limited edition blue Alpinist. Ooh, better get that better in to, there we go. The USDM, US limited edition blue Alpinist SPB 089. These have the same case, so it's going to be 39.5 millimeters in diameter, 12.1 millimeters thick. So these are going to be the thinnest out of the group. And then 46.3 lug to lug, brushed and polished flat sapphire crystals, screw down crowns that are signed, which is something unique within this group. These are the ones with signed crowns. And they're powered by the 6R15 movement, which has a 50-hour power reserve, beats at 3 hertz or 21,600 vibrations per hour. And it does also have a Sprawn 510 mainspring. And these also do have, of course, solid case backs versus what you're going to see on some of these other models, which essentially will have, well, maybe one on each side. How's that sound? And then we get into basically the Prospex models here. which you see like this piece right here, which is kind of the Prospex Shark Tooth or Red Alpinist. This one, the JDM nomenclature on this one, because I did get this one from a Japanese vendor, is the SBDC087. But if you have this same model and you bought it internationally, it'd be the SPB117. So the 117, yes. 117. And this is just a good example of, you know, the Prospex Alpinist. It does have a different bit of, you know, of a layout there that's a little bit different because you're not getting the numerals. You're getting kind of that shark tooth indice, but it's very cool. And then you move into, let's say, another piece like this one, which I kind of lovingly call the Unlimited Mountain Glacier, which caused a big stir. There's a European exclusive, and essentially there was another model that had this similar dial, and just it had like, it was a limited edition though, that had two different straps. This one just came on the bracelet and was cheaper and was not a limited model. So a lot of people who bought that one were very upset that this one came out. For me, I was thrilled that this one came out because I love this color dial. Like this cool blue, this mountain glacier color is amazing. It's like a bluish green tone, and then you don't get the gold, so it just gives it a bit of a different play, like let's say compared to the classic green and gilt. So you get a different kind of play there, which I really like. And then let's say you compare it against the Blue Alpinist special edition. You're getting, again, it's just a different tone. You can see more blue with the red accents here. You're going to be getting kind of a nice kind of faded accent there at the northern position on the compass, but then the rest of the dial, it just has this kind of bluish green hue, grayish hue, and it's really cool. I really do like that a lot. And then, you know, speaking of European exclusive, let's move on to another European exclusive right here. This is the Rock Face. So this mountain glacier is the SPB 197J1, and then here we have the SPB 355J1, and this is the Rock Face European limited edition. This is the most recent kind of one of these, and it also has a very unique feature in that it's the only one like this that has a brushed bezel. Check that out. And a lot of the times folks were like, oh, in the rendering it looks brushed, you know, they should be brushed. And hey, guess what, it's brushed. And some of you are wondering, hey, what's up with these weird bracelets? So this is actually, I have done a couple of videos on these, so definitely check the channel history. It's an OEM bracelet. It just is not for the Alpinist. It just happens to fit really well. It's actually a pre-presaged Sarks model that this was made for, but it fits great. So I put it on here. I have it also on the Blue. There's just something slightly dressy about these two watches that I think flows really well with these, you know, more presage-like bracelets. So I love this one. Check out the dial. We're starting to see more and more releases, within special runs and everything, whether it be Save the Ocean or just a regional exclusive, whether it be Thailand or China or any other place, where we're starting to see these really cool textured dials come into play. I really thought this one was really awesome in terms of, I like the texture, I like the pops of blue, and then of course the brushed bezel is very cool. And then, you know, just to point out some of the differences for the, this being kind of the newest of the new for these versus the original is, of course, you're going to have, that Cyclops or date magnifier there. Also now the window on there, see here how it has basically like kind of a little frame around it, a printed frame. Here now there's no frame, it's just the cutout because it's being magnified. And then also it's slightly thicker because you are getting a display case back versus a solid case back. So those are some of the differences also. So the screw down crown is signed versus unsigned, and that's kind of par for the course for modern Prospex watches in general, at least outside of probably like LX level or any type of special edition. So those are going to be some of the differences. that you're going to see, but relatively everything else is going to be the same. Oh, and behind that display case back is a different movement. So you're getting the 6R35 versus the 6R15 that's in there. They both do have Sprawn 510 mainsprings and extended power reserves. It's just this one's going to be even more extended. It's going to give you 70 hours versus the 50 hours of the 6R15. Still going to be the same beat rate though on that smooth sweeping seconds hand. So 3 hertz, just a tick underneath, the mainstream kind of 4 hertz that you would get from either an ETA or like a Miyota 9000 series. So from here, there's even more to look at, right? Because now we get into the baby Alpinist. So we'll get these two babies out. Recent video covering these aftermarket bracelets, which is a lot of fun. So from Uncle Straps, previously known as Uncle Seiko. You have the President bracelet and the Jubilee bracelet. These bracelets are actually made for these other watches, but they do fit really nicely, with just a little bit of wiggling in terms of realigning the spring bars anyway on these cases. So I feel like I need to sneeze. This has been one continuous shot, and I really don't want to reshoot this whole thing, so I'm going to try not to sneeze. And if I do, just pardon me, I don't want to do it, but it's maybe I was doing some cleaning, so it could just be a little bit of dust. But anyways, you get the baby Alpinist, which is going to be the same power plant in here, but things are going to be a little bit different. So instead of a flat sapphire or a flat sapphire with a date magnifier, now you're going to get a single dome sapphire. So also, of course you're not going to be getting that 4 o'clock crown, but you're still going to be getting very similar in terms of the rest of the dimensions. 38 millimeter though, instead of kind of that 39.5, so it's a little bit smaller, and because the lack of crown guards. And then also 12.9 millimeters thick versus the 13.2. Or the 12.1 if you were going to be, with the 6R15 powered Alpinists. And these are really cool. Like this one with the brown and gilt is really cool. It's actually funny. It kind of appears greenish sometimes, but I assure you it is definitely a lovely chocolatey brown. I think it's just sometimes playing off of the background there. But these are two cool ones, and especially on these straps. But again, very similar, screw down crowns, unsigned, the whole shebang. But with these slightly smaller cases, I do prefer the nice, little bit more dramatic taper there. Flows really well with the case lines on these baby Alpinists. And I think that kind of takes us down to the last of these wonderful watches, which is kind of funny because this is inspired by one of the earliest Seiko Alpinists. This is the Seiko Prospex 1959 Laurel Alpinist. And it's the SPB 259 140th anniversary Ginza limited edition. And this thing is cool. 38 millimeter diameter, 13 millimeters thick, so just slightly thicker than the baby. And then 46 millimeters lug to lug, just slightly a little bit longer. And then this actually has 19 millimeter lugs versus 20. All the other watches here had 20 millimeter lugs. Also, something to note. Also single domed there, as you can see, and just a bit of a different style. And this is, of course, a special edition. I really liked this colorway. I like, of course, the detailing in the dial. That color is actually very similar to the Mountain Glacier. It just has a bit of a different finish on it. And I'd say probably maybe a slightly more blue hue overall versus the kind of greenish hue you're going to get here, but they are quite close. And I really do love this piece. It's a looker, and it's actually very different, but it does share as you can see, that 20 bar with all these watches, they're all 200 meters of water resistance. So I think that's really, really great. It shows how robust they are. And, you know, it does help you kind of reconcile the fact that they are a bit thick, because, hey, you know, they make up for it because they are built very sturdily, and they all are loomed quite well. They all do have that applied Seiko logo on there. Even the Baby Alpinist does. And just to kind of get these side by side, you know, kind of Baby versus Laurel, especially with these more reflective kind of upscale dressy dials, you can see very versatile. And you can see now that it's playing off these colors, you can see the golden brown hues really come out. It doesn't appear green because you're sitting next to something that's a little bit greener. I wonder if I put it next to this one, if that would help, or if it plays off more. Yeah, now you can see it feels more brown next to a true green. So very, very cool. But yeah, I love all these watches, guys. This is kind of the collection. Why don't we do this? What I'll do is I'll remix everything up and do a little bit of a Lume battle and low light transition and closing thoughts to kind of finish this thing off. Okay, so that took a little bit longer than I wanted, but totally worth it. Had to go hardcore, Mount Fuji Japanese field watch, and get a Douglas field lighter in there. Of course, these great Japanese blades. On the right hand side, you can see my two M Kustas, and then on the left hand side, you can see the excellent Rockstead Heisen, sorry. And I do want to, it's such a beautiful reflective blade. Let me just get a little dust off of that, because we are going to do something really fun. You know it. Here it comes. Boom, Lume shots. As you guys can see, you have the signature green Lume-Bright on pretty much all of these, except for the Baby Alpinists, which are going to be using that blue format, which is very interesting and different. But it wouldn't be one of my segments if we didn't work in some absolutely necessary low light transition. Because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. Sometimes you're going to be out, you know, just coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, you know, hanging out underneath the shade of a tree, or maybe just hanging out in your favorite automobile. So it is really nice to see what these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting. Man, look at the reflection on that blade. Whew, yes. Look for the full review on the channel, guys. It's there. So if these knives interest you, definitely check them out. Made in Japan. And, you know, it just kind of suits this beautiful array of awesome dials. Look at the way the light plays off of some of the different textures, some of the different patterns, and then, of course, the nice uniform glide of the light as it goes over the beautiful brushing on these watches. And then you do get a couple of little glossy highlights out there as well. So this is a lot of fun. Check that out. That little kind of twilight look at that. Just still very legible, very handsome. And just, you know, these look great. And I love to see what they look like with just a little bit of light play. So, guys, thanks for sitting through this with me. I did my best not to ramble on too long, but these are really great knives. The funny thing is, I'm sorry, knives. Yes, they are great knives being featured, but these are great watches. And I didn't set out to be a big alpinist collector, which is kind of the funny thing. I just, you know, it starts with one, and then there were certain models that I liked that just kept coming out. And because it's such a wearable timepiece, because of its size and its profile, and it's so capable in terms of its specs, right? You're getting sapphire, you're getting a screw-down crown with 200 meters of water resistance. And then you get something that's extremely wearable and versatile in terms of its design language. So, I mean, it just hits all the marks, and that's why I ended up with so many of these. I love the idea that, yeah, maybe years and years flash forward from now, maybe there'll be some collector out there that's desiring some of these pieces. And maybe my sons or their kids will kind of have these somewhere in a nice little shadow box, just waiting for the right moment to kind of share their story, with somebody, and maybe sell a couple here and there, because I don't have the heart to sell any of the stuff that I really collect. I do need to sell some of the watches that are just, kind of in my house because because of the channel. But stuff like this, I mean, this is the stuff like, I personally, cause it's not like Seiko's cutting me any deals. These are all, watches that, I've had to acquire over the years, and they all do have a very significant meaning. So that kind of does tie into the state of the collection. These are really, I consider, part of my collection. And this is just a snapshot, of course, moment in time, Seiko Alpinist collection 2022, but it's definitely has been fun rambling and sharing with you guys kind of the thoughts, some of the differences, comparing, contrasting. These are really great watches that I enjoy a lot. And, I guess you could say I like field watches. I do collect quite a few different field watches, dive watches, and recently, even dabbling in dress watches here and there. But I like that these field watches, they are in the more that everyday adventure, also within that kind of versatile, steel sports watch thing where you can wear this, they can dress up, they can dress down. I think that's a lot of fun, and these are great watches. And honestly, if you see any of these watches on anybody's wrist out in the wild, they didn't get it on by accident. I remember one time I was out here in Southern California. I live in Oceanside, which is like the most northern part of Oceanside, or of San Diego County. And basically I went up north over to Orange County, and I remember I once spotted somebody wearing a JDM Sarb Alpinist, the Sarb 017, and I was actually getting some Japanese curry at Coco Ichiban in Irvine, which I acquired a taste for when I was stationed in Okinawa in the Marines, and it was just the coolest thing to spot that on somebody's wrist. It's like years ago when you'd see an SKX on somebody's wrist. Like, you see it and you can kind of imagine the story, the steps. They went through the same stuff. Like, yeah, we heard about it, we read about it, we went on forums, we watched the wristwatch checks, we went through all the different photos, figuring out the best strap options, all that stuff, right? Then we searched for the best prices. Like, it's just kind of a really cool through line in terms of just being able to relate to people and kind of that story. And each one of these watches have their own kind of unique story in terms of how they ended up here. Of course, a lot of it was driven by, hey, I have a YouTube channel and I need new watches to feature, but then there's also a reason why these ones were chosen and others weren't. So yeah, if you liked the video, definitely hit like. If you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What would you swap? What would you keep? What would you narrow it down to? All that good stuff. Or which one am I missing that you think should be here? Have at it, guys. I will absolutely be kind of scoping the comments to see some feedback from you guys in terms of your experiences with the Seiko Alpinist, and just thoughts within kind of collecting and field watches and all that fun. So with that said, again, thank you guys so much. And yeah, we'll if I get another one, I guess maybe in 2023 I'll reshoot this and we'll add more. All right, thanks guys.